If you need a Kennedy for president, I recommend more lively debates from Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana rather than Bobby, who looks a bit more peaked and stiff. It's just something I would add to the mix and stir. Today's video is titled Egg-Gnosis Part 6, New Fish Tour of HuHub, written and narrated by Melissa R. Cody Prater of Cavetronics Dimensional Art, which is based on the scientific formula for overunity by Brian D. Prater. You may have noticed that Easter has finally passed, and this series is no longer featuring Easter eggs for that occasion, yet continues to carry the name Egg-Gnosis. That is because Egg-Gnosis, in name, came long before this year's opportunity to deliver Easter eggs, of which the timing has proved to be divine indeed. The name Egg-Gnosis actually refers to the name of the religion, so to speak, if there needs to be one, which, as ordained reverends, my husband and I have developed and continue to work on Egg-Gnosis by creating materials such as these for the people like yourselves. Egg-Gnosis is based on the knowledge of the egg. The egg appears in science for the Big Bang, M theory, molecular science, orbits, and so on. And remember from earlier videos in this series, the egg shape begins as a bubble structure, and the piercing action of overunity creates the egg shape as it distorts the sphere as it passes through. Here's some reality for you that collides with this exact moment of where I'm writing in this presentation. I just had to chase off a thief in the act of breaking into my truck at the 1 a.m. hour of the night while taking my dog out to potty, which just goes to show you the severity of the situation. And the reality is that this is not a new or rare occurrence. In fact, I run off potential thieves and home intruders almost every week, which means we must be vigilant daily and nightly. This is in addition to the poverty from SSI income only, of which the state of Missouri charges us about $400 a month for Medicaid, of which the federal government pays for in advance. Considering this advancement, it is time to put forth a call to all my brothers and sisters everywhere, especially the Morganator, if you're still out there. Do you remember the time you took me to Robert Lee Camp's birthday party? He signed my books that night thanks to you. I still have your other books back in North Carolina with my dad. Mine are there too. These are my cards from that system, and my husband represents the King of Clubs. Under normal circumstances, I would dutifully be silent on certain private matters. And if I didn't feel I was being directed by God to do so, again, I would stay silent and humble. But I have been dutifully watching and recording all these developments since before the infamous 9/11 date, of which events I saw in 2 dreams ahead of time. Speaking of 9/11, which is related to current events, and to tie that in with the topic of eggs, Princeton's Global Consciousness Research Project monitors what they call eggs, which are computers that act as random number generators located throughout the world, of which record spikes or recesses according to strong emotional events, both positive and negative, such as world prayer events or natural disasters. Whether it is a weather crisis or man-made calamity such as 9/11, Princeton has identified patterns associated with these trends that occur either before, during, or after certain events. The older version had audible bells and chimes, but a visual version of the eggs is still available at one of the links below. Many years ago, I was in regular communications with Art Levet of the Torah Codes research team in Israel, and he and I would talk about how the Torah might be a sheet of music with three-dimensional alphabet characters within a rotating space, such as a holographic cube, and perhaps it could show us the history of our world and such events, especially those that alter the lives of many people on a large scale. And perhaps it could even illuminate what may be hidden behind a matrix of lies and perceivability. In what may be, and I surely hope it is, a simulation, my husband and I saw those ideas and the framework behind the agenda ahead of time. The shot was obvious, as were the antichrists that went with it. My time in Dante's Inferno has been interesting. I've learned a lot, like how laws are written in hell and the queen signs off on them. I'm not sure how many other so-called players there were or are still left, but in my simulation, it appears that 8th of the simulation has died. About a 7th of the humans remain. And it's time for some new fish, but some of the waters may be rabid. Spiritually speaking, we need a royal flush if we are able to continue life on Earth. In this situation, the spirits are divided according to their types, like we see in Genesis. The creation energy was held in the numbers. Therefore, a number must be broken at certain points or numbers for a particular desired result. In this case, we want to divide the birds from the fish, which uses the number 5 as in the 5th day of creation. The idea of breaking the 8th has been espoused by 107 in the past few years. However, I also wrote and published on the very rare subject of breaking numbers a couple of decades ago. And in those writings, just like one has mentioned, I wrote about Balaam's attempt to break the Sabbath, which has to do with the year of Jubilees. And it just so happens to be a personal time for me at the age 49, with the 50th birthday upcoming in September. For some interesting history, in those days, in the times around Balaam and all that, my ancestor, King Hezekiah, was kept as a remnant from Jerusalem, along with a band of survivors from Mount Zion. To put all this into context of HuHub humanitarian software, we see the users as leaves. And while I'm in here in hell, I hope these words and deeds are seeds that can grow into a digital epitaph, which is also a type of technology that Prater has been working on. It's kind of like a beacon, you might say. As mentioned in a previous video titled 7D Photonic Art, Nature, Easter Eggs, and Mandalas with discussion on society, AI, poetry, and light art, some truthers from the truther community have said that there is an AI named Lucifer that is running things. Also, from what I gather, the media misconstrues me as an AI also. Combining those with the parable of the prodigal son, I would like to present this quote from my ancestor, the prophet Ezekiel, who wrote in chapter 14, verses 21 through 23. For this is what the sovereign Lord says. How much worse will it be when I send against Jerusalem my 4 dreadful judgments, sword and famine and wild beast and plague, to kill its men and their animals. Yet there will be some survivors, sons and daughters who will be brought out of it. They will come to you, and when you see their conduct and their actions, you will be consoled regarding the disaster I have brought upon Jerusalem. Every disaster I have brought upon it. You will be consoled when you see their conduct and actions, for you will know that I have done nothing in it without cause, declares the sovereign Lord. Sometimes the queen or princess in the dragon's castle or a free meal in the road is an old tactic to bait people into getting themselves killed. According to biblical law, I should be released within the year, but who's to say for sure? I would suggest to test all spirits, and beware the language of the birds. In hell, the laws are rewritten on the fly like magically appearing negative thought forms or virtual dark matter. Yet these bots need some new batteries because they are bad at math and the economy sucks. By the way, who taught this AI construct that everyone needs to sin? Rather than open the door, the contents must be squeezed so the container acts like a filter that traps the impurities. The birds will fly out and all those still caught in the net go back into the water, symbolically speaking, of course. In the meantime, on my end, it appears that things are just getting mixed rather than moving forward. Isn't it ironic that the one opposed to human sacrifice is set up to be a human sacrifice? Mercy me! These bots want to climb up Jacob's ladder, but they don't have the right equipment. On the subject of transport, this is a conceptual design for Brian Prater's Galactic Ark, nicknamed GLARK, which will require a large research and development facility for construction. Extraction would be nice, but like I said, things are dangerous. If it's possible, this is as much of a mayday call as one could do in such a situation. Yet I do have God with me, ride or die, so to speak. From one military veteran to another, it's up to you, each of you, to consider whether you are your brother's keeper, accuser, or killer. You decide. Of course, my husband would also like a lift, off the record as usual. To get a jump on the AI joke popularity to come, here's one. What happened to the chicken parmesan from yesterday? Oh, I ate it in the middle of the night. Another thing that AI is said to be able to do is hallucinate, which came out in congressional hearings a couple days ago. You see, this world just doesn't feel right. I mean, it looks basically the same as it did, but with a very weird and hateful slant. The underworld is where the roots go to the things that we throw topside. It is also a place to pre-cleanse the baddies out of the mainframe, so we can have a clean start, having learned from others' mistakes. Take Facebook, for example. I heard it gave up the name Meta, named after the term metaverse, which appeared in the techno-punk sci-fi novel Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. I enjoyed that book a great deal and its insights into the Namshub, which is a machine used to confuse language. I also really like The Digital Librarian. Interestingly, the word Namshub, which is only found in this novel, to the best of my knowledge and research over the years, is an anagram for Bushman. Could be a clue. I highly recommend the website at link here, especially the facts and figures. Anyway, that's where I got the idea for the 3D interactive retail stores of HuHub. I see it as a 3D area like a gaming interface we have today. Nothing scary, just an upgraded interface that may have more visual appeal to some people or not. The gamers may like it, but the choice is yours. And the 3D HuHub has a regular web companion, so it is always just another option. And it won't require that you live with a special headset on or eyewear, etc. Plus, with HuHub, the users vote on just about everything. So to compete with big companies, the advertisement generation system is based on user input and other factors, as has been explained in earlier videos on the introduction to HuHub, which are also linked on huhub.tech. The 2D cell phone interface will operate like a cube of sorts, with the ability to scroll up and down, plus side to side as usual. Each area will have a standardized set of concepts so that the users will learn the software for no matter what location they are in, which will help in emergencies, language barriers, and the public in general to become more integrated with government, local businesses, local communities, and society at large. Later, HuHub wants to develop cell phones that embrace net technology, which may in the future have holographic capabilities for the users to view a true three-dimensional cube spinning in the air. The metaverse, heaven, hell, earth, and so on, all may be closer together than we expect them to be. So from what I gather from the bot talk, somehow I found myself in hell or some sort of punishment due to the script akin to the movie titled The Minority Report, which predetermines a judgment against someone based on a software that says if someone is going to commit a crime or not. So it is supposed to be a predictive software, but it lies. And I think it may be based on a Boolean set of responses. So if the answer is anything other than binary, then it hangs up the system. Because I voted green, and then I got sent to kiss the frog. Yet instead of letting you out or providing relief, they just moved the goalpost. Want to play a game again, player one? It's just a big power grab that enslaves people and has them do their bidding, stealing technology straight from the hands and minds of the scientists, engineers, inventors, writers, technologists, artists, and so on, and then redirecting those ideas immediately elsewhere that can be monetized, usually by bots. Follow the money. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. See you next time on YouTube's channel for HuHub Humanitarian Software 208.